Stretching for nearly 200 miles, the Jordan River forms a natural divide between the territories now known as Jordan, Israel, and the West Bank. More than 3 millennia ago, around 14 centuries before the birth of Christ, this river was far more than a geographical feature. It was the final barrier standing before the Israelites and their long-promised homeland. Ancient scripture recounts that under Joshua's leadership, the priests carried the Ark of the Covenant into the river's current. At that moment, the flow of water was said to have ceased, leaving a path of dry ground through which the Antikythera people could cross. The event marked not only the completion of a long journey, but also the beginning of a new chapter in their history. Modern scholars approach this account from different perspectives. Many interpret it as a symbolic narrative of faith and divine providence. Others, examining the geography of the Jordan Valley, propose that natural forces, such as an earthquake or a landslide temporarily damming the river, could explain the phenomenon described in ancient texts. Whatever the cause, the crossing of the Jordan endures as a moment where faith, history, and the natural world appear to converge. Some modern theorists have suggested that strong atmospheric forces, such as powerful winds, might have been capable of temporarily dividing the waters of a river. Under the right conditions, rapid air movement could displace water and expose the riverbed beneath, creating a passage that might later have been described as the water standing like walls. These interpretations propose natural or technological explanations for events that ancient texts portray as divine. In the biblical narrative, the Ark of the Covenant reappears as a central element when the Israelites reach the western banks of the Jordan, preparing to confront the fortified city of Jericho. The reputation of this approaching people had already spread, and fear had taken hold within the city's stone defenses. According to the book of Joshua, divine instruction commanded the Israelites to march around the walls, once each day for 6 days, and 7 times on the 7th, while priests sounded ram's horns, and the people shouted in unison. The account describes how, at that moment, Jericho's mighty walls collapsed. Scholars have long debated the nature of this event. Some view it as a miracle symbolizing faith rewarded. Others have explored physical explanations, such as vibrations from mass movement, resonance from sound, or even localized seismic activity. In modern terms, one might compare such vibrations to the shock waves produced by supersonic aircraft, whose sonic booms can rattle windows many miles away. If a similar force, whether natural or human-made, were concentrated near ancient Jericho, it could conceivably have weakened the city's walls. Regardless of the mechanism, the fall of Jericho remains one of antiquity's vivid moments, a convergence of faith, legend, and the enduring human search to understand forces greater than ourselves. Across the world, the methods used to shape and raise colossal stone monuments, such as the pyramids of Egypt or the enigmatic ruins of Pumapunku in Bolivia, continue to challenge explanation. Yet, beyond the mystery of how these vast structures were assembled, lies another, quieter puzzle: the tools that built them. If such tools once existed, few traces have survived. Much of the ancient world's most impressive stonework predates the widespread use of iron or steel. The builders of these monuments relied mainly on copper, a metal far too soft to easily carve hard stones like basalt, diorite, or granite. To achieve such precision, ancient craftsmen would have required extraordinary patience, or access to techniques and materials now lost to history. Some researchers have even proposed that they may have possessed a level of technological sophistication far beyond what is typically assumed for their era. In the late 19th century, British archaeologist Sir Flinders Petrie devoted his life to studying the craftsmanship of ancient Egypt. Not its grandest monuments, but its smallest artifacts. Fascinated by the technical mastery of early Egyptian artisans, Petrie meticulously documented evidence of manufacturing techniques that appeared to surpass the capabilities of simple hand tools. Among the many relics he examined, one in particular captured his enduring attention. While exploring the Great Pyramid at Giza, Petrie discovered a hollow granite cylinder, a tubular drill core. Though tubular drilling was not unknown in ancient Egypt, this specimen stood apart. Its grooves were astonishingly uniform, spiraling around the stone with millimetric precision and almost no deviation. Petrie was struck by the regularity of these markings, which suggested a tool moving with mechanical steadiness and controlled pressure. He theorized that the ancient Egyptians might have employed cutting tips made of diamond or another gem-hard material, capable of slicing through granite. Yet despite decades of excavation, no diamonds have ever been found in Egyptian archaeological contexts. The mystery deepened. If not diamonds, what substance or method had produced such clean, even cuts? Over a century later, engineer and machinist Christopher Dunn set out to test these questions through experiment. Reconstructing an ancient-style drilling device, he used a copper tube rotated by hand, aided by a mixture of quartz sand and silicon carbide as an abrasive. After many hours of labor, the drill produced a hole deep enough to extract a small cylindrical core from the granite block. When examined under a high-powered microscope, the results revealed subtle but crucial differences. The experimental core bore faint, irregular scratches, while a latex cast taken from Petrie's original artifact displayed sharply defined, deep, spiral grooves. The contrast was unmistakable. The marks on the ancient core appeared too consistent to have been made by hand-driven copper tools using sand alone. For Dunn, this discrepancy hinted at the possibility of a more advanced, perhaps mechanical process, one capable of exerting steady rotational force and precise control. To him, the object represented what he called a smoking gun of high technology in the ancient world. Mainstream archaeology remains cautious, emphasizing that while ancient Egyptians achieved remarkable feats with simple tools and abrasive materials, the exact mechanics of their stoneworking techniques are still incompletely understood. Whether through human ingenuity, lost craftsmanship, or something more enigmatic, the relics left behind continue to blur the boundary between skill and mystery. For centuries, people have wondered whether visitors from beyond Earth might have influenced the builders of humanity's earliest temples and pyramids. If such beings ever reached our world, could they have shared knowledge of mathematics, astronomy, or mechanics? Among the few ancient objects that inspire such speculation stands one remarkable discovery: the Antikythera mechanism. More than 2 millennia old, this intricate device was recovered in 1900 by sponge divers near the small Aegean island of Antikythera. Hidden within the remains of a shipwreck, they found a corroded lump of bronze and wood, later revealed to contain a complex network of gears. When the artifact reached the National Archaeological Museum in Athens, it lay unexamined for decades. Only in the 1950s did researchers employ X-ray imaging, uncovering the delicate arrangement of interlocking wheels inside, a precision unseen in any known object from antiquity. The mechanism proved to be far more than an ornament. It functioned as a sophisticated instrument capable of predicting celestial events. By turning its gears, users could trace the movements of the sun, moon, and planets across the sky, calculate eclipses, and even track cycles important to the ancient Olympic calendar. To the people of its time, it could serve both practical and spiritual purposes, aiding navigation by the stars, while also reflecting the astrological beliefs that linked human destiny to planetary alignment. What astonished early investigators was not only its dual role, but its engineering. The miniature bronze teeth and perfectly synchronized rotations displayed a complexity rivaling that of modern timepieces. Some described it as more intricate than a Swiss watch. Yet it had been crafted around 2 centuries before Christ. When the first reconstructions were completed, archaeologists compared the find to discovering a jet aircraft in the tomb of an Egyptian pharaoh. The Antikythera mechanism shattered long-held assumptions about the limits of ancient technology. It demonstrated that Greek engineers possessed a depth of astronomical understanding and mechanical skill centuries ahead of what historians once believed. Today, It stands as both a testament to human ingenuity and a reminder that even in the ancient world, science and wonder were deeply intertwined. Long before the invention of the Antikythera mechanism, the walls of Egypt's Dendera temple complex were already preserving another puzzle. Deep beneath the temple lies a narrow, stifling crypt, once accessible only to high priests. Along its stone walls, intricate carvings depict elongated bulb-shaped objects connected by cords and supported by figures in ceremonial poses. To some modern observers, these reliefs appear strikingly similar to the form of electric lamps. The imagery has fueled decades of debate over how the ancient Egyptians illuminated the interiors of their tombs and temples. Conventional archaeology holds that oil lamps and torches were used, yet these explanations raise questions. Many tomb ceilings show no trace of soot or smoke, an absence difficult to reconcile with open flames. Moreover, the confined chambers would have provided little oxygen to sustain fire for long periods. Such observations have led a number of alternative researchers to propose that Egyptian artisans may have employed a form of artificial light, perhaps chemical or electrical, though no physical devices have ever been recovered. Within this speculative context, attention often turns to another artifact discovered hundreds of miles away, the so-called Baghdad Battery. Unearthed in Iraq during the 20th century, several small clay jars dating to over 2,000 years ago were found to contain a copper cylinder sealed around an iron rod with asphalt. When replicas of these vessels were filled with mild acids such as vinegar or fruit juice, they produced measurable electrical voltage. Experimental archaeologists Jason Martel and Giorgio Tsoukalos famously demonstrated this effect, showing that when the electrodes were connected to a voltmeter, the needle moved into the positive range. The jar's function, however, remains uncertain. Most specialists interpret them as tools for electroplating, using weak electric currents to coat jewelry with thin layers of metal, rather than as power sources for illumination. The idea that ancient societies harnessed electricity on a significant scale remains highly controversial. Still, the Baghdad Battery and the Dendera reliefs remind us that ancient peoples experimented constantly with matter, energy, and symbolism. Whether they represent true electrical devices or imaginative ritual art, these relics testify to an enduring human impulse to transform natural forces into light, order, and meaning, long before modern science gave such phenomena a name. On today's largest construction sites, immense machines of steel and hydraulics carve, lift, and move stone with astonishing precision. These mechanical giants perform the labor of thousands, shaping the foundations of modern cities. Without them, the soaring towers of the modern world could never rise. Yet millennia before such equipment existed, ancient civilizations achieved comparable feats, quarrying, transporting, and positioning blocks of stone that rival anything attempted today. At sites across Egypt, South America, and the Near East, archaeologists have documented blocks weighing more than 100 tons. Some reach twice that weight, the size of modern transport trucks. Despite their scale, these stones were cut from bedrock, hauled across desert terrain, and set into temples and pyramids with extraordinary accuracy. How such precision was achieved remains one of the enduring mysteries of ancient engineering. At Giza, the famous pyramids are accompanied by smaller but equally impressive structures known as valley temples. While the Great Pyramid is built mostly of 2 to 3 ton limestone blocks, the nearby temples contain massive granite stones measuring up to 200 tons each. The decision to use such enormous materials defies simple explanation. The effort required to shape and move them suggests that the builders possessed methods or tools far beyond what their simple copper implements could easily accomplish. Modern engineer and researcher Christopher Dunn has spent decades studying this question. Conventional archaeology maintains that the Egyptians relied on basic tools, stone hammers, copper chisels, and abrasive sand, to cut and polish diorite and granite. Dunn's investigations, however, have revealed evidence that challenges this view. Examining the quarries and structures firsthand, he observed cutting marks and surface finishes, suggesting the use of large mechanical saws or drills capable of operating with remarkable consistency. On the Giza Plateau alone, the Great Pyramid is composed of approximately 2.5 million individual blocks. Each had to be measured, cut, transported, and placed with almost perfect alignment. For such precision to be repeated on so vast a scale, the builders must have followed an organized system of planning and fabrication, one efficient enough to meet the demands of massive, continuous construction. North of Giza, in the quarry at Abu Ruwash, Dunn discovered a granite block marked by a deep, curved groove. After extensive analysis, he concluded that the only plausible method of producing such a cut would have been with a circular saw approximately 35 feet in diameter. The suggestion provoked debate among Egyptologists, who argue that no evidence exists for such machinery in the archaeological record. Nevertheless, the pattern of tool marks remains difficult to explain through traditional means. While mainstream scholarship attributes these achievements to human ingenuity, coordinated labor, and centuries of experimentation, others propose that lost or highly specialized techniques once played a role. Perhaps mechanical methods now forgotten. Whether through inventive engineering or through technologies not yet understood, the builders of antiquity transformed raw stone into monuments that continue to defy modern imagination. Across the deserts of Egypt, the mountains of Peru, and the islands of the Aegean, the same silent question lingers among the stones. How did the ancients do it? From the massive walls of Jericho to the perfect gears of the Antikythera mechanism, from the luminous carvings of Dendera to the colossal granite blocks of Giza, every relic tells a story not just of belief or ritual, but of extraordinary ingenuity. These monuments are not merely echoes of lost civilizations. They are blueprints of human persistence. They show that long before modern engines and machines, people studied the laws of nature, learned to harness them, and translated that knowledge into structures meant to last for eternity. Whether powered by forgotten tools, unrecorded methods, or the boundless creativity of the human mind, these achievements remind us that technology is not only a product of time, but of imagination. Today, as satellites orbit the Earth and telescopes gaze into galaxies far beyond our own, we continue to pursue the same mystery that inspired our ancestors: the desire to understand, to create, and to leave behind something that endures. The stones of the ancient world stand as our teachers, whispering through the centuries that knowledge once found is never truly lost, only waiting to be rediscovered.